3 tips for neurodivergent marriages. So relationships can look a little bit different if you have autism or ADHD or both. The 3 tips in this video essentially describe the 3 biggest problems that I see all the time in my work coaching people in long-term relationships. Welcome back to Aspergers from the Inside. You're here with Paul. I make weekly videos sharing the human side of autism, so make sure you hit subscribe to get the latest content. This week's Patron's Choice video is 3 tips for neurodivergent marriages. If you and or your partner have autism and or ADHD and you plan on having a till death do us part type of relationship, then this video is for you. And make sure you stick around till the end to get a free download with specific advice for a common problem around emotional intimacy, plus a special offer for online counseling sponsored by BetterHelp. So this video is looking at some pretty in-depth stuff around long-term relationships. So if you've just met someone and you think they might be on the spectrum, you might want to first check out my video on how to love someone with Aspergers. That is more for getting your head around what creating a neurodivergent relationship at all is gonna involve, which is essentially letting go of a lot of expectations and redoing how you might otherwise have communicated in a situation. Whereas this video, I'm assuming that you're already in a relationship and you're going through the kind of common struggles that a lot of couples face. So the first tip with regard to solving everyday challenges, everyday problems that are bound to come up. So tip number 1 is solve problems soon. And what do I mean by that? It might be easier to understand this by its negative. What you do not want to do is insist that a problem must be solved right now in this very instant, and the opposite of that, which is to accept that a problem is never going to get solved and it's just okay and it's just something I'll have to live with. So this is the kind of thing where most of us sort of fall one way or the other. Like if you're having an argument, are you the kind of person that wants to keep going until you resolve it right now? Or are you the kind of person that would prefer to avoid conflict and say, oh, I was a little bit upset by that, but they probably didn't mean it, so I probably don't have to bring it up again. The first one of insisting that a problem is solved means that when I'm trying to solve the problem, I'm actually really upset and really emotional in that moment. So the concept of solving a problem soon means pausing, taking a time out, calming down, and then at a later point thinking about when is a good time to bring up this problem again? When is a good time to make a tiny little step forward on the solution to whatever we're trying to grapple with? The opposite of that, and the reason that we have to make sure we do it soon rather than letting it go along, is because some of us, and I know I definitely fall into this category, I'm used to putting up with things. I'm used to thinking, oh, well, that's not exactly how I like it, but I've always had to put my needs below the demands of the world around me. So if I do that on a constant basis, I'm going to end up resenting my spouse because that I'm always putting them first and I'm always doing what they want. And eventually I'm going to start getting this story in my head about, well, what about me? What about what I need? Isn't what I need important? And if that builds up a lot, it's eventually going to come out again in a very emotional way that might not necessarily be the most functional way to solve the problem. So the message of this first tip around solve problems soon is, number 1, it's okay to take a break. If I'm extremely upset, if my partner's really upset, if we are too angry to talk civilly to each other at the moment, it's probably a good idea to take a break. And at the same time, I need to make sure that I am asserting what I need in this relationship too. And this is the really challenging part, right? Because we've got 2 people and 2 sets of needs, And we've got, if it leans too much towards one side or too much towards the other side, then that can cause equally problematic situations that are eventually going to kind of eat me up inside. So I really love Brene Brown's work on this, talking about resentment and choosing discomfort over resentment. And the idea behind that is, if I say yes when I mean no, then eventually I'm going to resent my partner for asking me to do it in the first place, even though I said, yes, I'm okay with this solution. So let me give you a clear example of this. When my wife and I bought a couch for the first time, it was very big and it didn't really fit anywhere that we were happy with in the lounge room. And we had to try and figure out and agree where we were going to put it. Now, this sounds like such a everyday, mundane little issue. Where are you going to put the couch? But we couldn't solve it in that moment, and we were both getting really upset, and I especially was getting extremely upset. So instead of keeping on talking in that moment, I had to literally leave the house and go for a walk and go and sit in the park for an hour at least. I can't even remember, I was so upset at the time, until I could calm down and come back and re-engage in the process. And you know what? We didn't re-engage in the process that day. We had to wait till the next day before we were both calm enough to actually talk through the process. So these kind of little everyday things are what I'm talking about with solve problems soon. It can be extremely frustrating, even to the point of anger, when you can't agree on to put the toilet seat up or down, or to wear shoes in the house or not, or to what to cook for dinner tonight, or how to handle a family situation. All of these really everyday things happen all the time. And if you feel yourself getting extremely angry, then think, I'm going to solve the problem. I'm just not going to solve it right now. I'm going to take a break first, and then I definitely am going to solve the problem soon. So the second tip is a little bit related to that. It's set your partner up for success. What I mean by this is, there are certain limitations that of things that your partner can and cannot do. So if I'm constantly asking my wife to do something and she's constantly not being able to do it, or not doing it for some reason, then that sets up a dynamic where I'm always asking and I'm always getting disappointed, and she's always being asked, being nagged, and always disappointing me. We're all losing in every sense of the word. So instead, what we're looking for is to recognize the limits of emotions and energy, and ask ourselves the question, what if my partner actually can't do what I'm asking them to do right now? And it could be as simple as, I'm too tired to do what you're asking me to do right now. I know you want me to put the dishes away, but I've had a really long day and I actually have zero mental energy left, and I really do need to be on my phone by myself right now. So that kind of thing can cause a huge amount of conflict if we don't recognize our own limits, especially our own limits around emotions and energy, and ask ourselves the question, can my partner do what I'm asking them to do? And if the answer is no, and it usually helps to assume that the answer is no, then what can I do instead? What else could I do to manage in this situation if I can't ask my partner at this moment for what I need? So I suppose it's relatively straightforward to think about this in terms of physical tasks and physical energy. I'm too tired at the end of the day. I can't make decisions. I have some executive functioning challenges, or maybe I'm overloaded with something and I can't do something in the moment. But what do I mean by emotional limits? Our emotional limits are what we can handle emotionally. So this might look like, I want my partner to acknowledge how I feel, and maybe that's not possible. Or maybe I want my partner to engage in my social life and come out and meet my friends or meet my family or attend this event. What if they don't have the ability to do that, or they know that situation would be overwhelming? Especially around energy, things like, I've just come home from work and I know you want to talk to me, but actually I need some downtime alone at the moment. So if you ask me to interact with you, it's going to be a really difficult situation where I have to say, look, if I have the words to say it at the time, which I probably won't if I'm really tired, I would want to say, I really love you, I care about you, but I can't talk to you or interact with you at all for the next hour until I've had my downtime and my brain is reset, and then I can come back and actually interact with you. So with regard to emotions, it might be, I'm too angry to talk to you right now, or I'm too sad to talk to you right now, or I'm not capable of engaging in this degree of intensity in our emotions right now, which means that I can't think about kids, or I can't think about the fact that you are not happy with our relationship, or I can't think about these other really, really difficult things to process and work through emotionally. And so what I might do instead is completely withdraw from that, because I simply don't have the emotional capacity to do what you're asking me to in this moment. So with that in mind, setting our partner up for success looks like recognizing what they can't actually do in a particular moment, and working around that so that we're not doing the opposite, which is setting them up for failure, asking them, demanding that they do something they actually don't have the ability to do in that moment. One of my favorite communication strategies around this has to do with code words or safe words that can essentially be pre-encoded with a very specific meaning beforehand, so that when I'm tired or overwhelmed or otherwise have trouble communicating, I can still tell you what I need in the moment. So a really stereotypical example of a pre-agreed code word is timeout. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, I can say timeout, I can say let's take a break, and it's understood between both of us instantly what that means and how, and we can instigate the timeout protocol, and it automatically does it by itself without the need for me to explain how I'm feeling and explain why I need it and explain what I want to happen. It just happens. So essentially, the purpose of picking a word like this in advance, or a short phrase like this in advance, is it allows you to quickly, clearly, directly, and kindly tell your partner what you actually need. And so that might be, I'm having a meltdown. It might be, I need space. It might be, I'm overstimulated, please don't talk to me. Or just make the decision by yourself. I don't have the executive functioning resources at the moment to make any decision or even respond to your questions. So instead, I'm going to communicate that that's the case. And then with this concept of recognizing each other's limits and setting each other up for success, my partner will then know that asking me another question when I've already said I can't think enough to answer questions is not a good idea, and would just be setting me up for failure. Okay, tip number 3, focus on what you can control and put your own oxygen mask on first. This probably should be tip number 1 and the go-to in any given situation. If you're finding that your situation, your relationship is really difficult at the moment, then you've probably already tried a lot of things to make it better. And probably those things haven't worked as well as you'd like, and you're probably quite frustrated at that and not sure what to do next. Well, the whole point of focusing on what you can control is to reduce that frustration. If I'm trying to get my partner to change her behavior, then that's unlikely to succeed because I can't really control that very well. Whereas there are some things that I have a great deal of control over. I can decide to go for a walk. I can decide to call a friend, or to have something else that's nourishing for me in that moment. And when I choose to take care of myself first, put my own oxygen mask on first, what I'm doing is, firstly, I'm not only just reducing the frustration of I'm trying something and it didn't work, I'm also giving myself more energy by taking care of my own needs first, which means I'm no longer asking my partner for something they can't actually give me, and causing additional stress that doesn't need to be in the relationship. So this is actually an extremely powerful strategy, because number one, you have control over this by definition. Have a look at what you can control. Have a look at what you can do to help you to meet your own needs, help make yourself feel better in that situation. And what that will do is mean that you've got more energy and more resources to eventually later, going back to the first one of solving problems soon, I'm building my energy, I'm retreating, I'm going on a retreat, I'm refocusing, so that for the purpose of eventually later, I'm going to go back and try and get my problem solved soon. But for the moment, all I need to do is focus on myself first. And this can actually be a hard one to get a head around, that it's actually a really good thing to focus on my needs first before trying to meet someone else's, which is why that oxygen mask concept is something that we're all familiar with. And if you don't look after yourself first, it's literally impossible to work with your partner in a positive way and support them, and even articulate yourself and assert yourself in a kind, clear, direct, positive way, so that you have the best chance of getting your needs met and communicating to your partner later. So in summary, my 3 tips are: number 1, solve your problems soon. That means not right now, but also not never. Number 2 is set your partner up for success by recognizing the limits of their emotions and energy. And finally, number 3, focus on what you can control. Put your own oxygen mask on first. If you're looking to build more emotional intimacy into your relationship, you might be interested in a free download that I've created called What to Do When He Won't Text Back, all about managing Aspie withdrawal, which is a really common thing. When one wants more and the other wants less, and one is pushing and the other is pulling, that's the kind of dynamic that we need to get out of as soon as possible. So check out my free download on that. Alternatively, if you feel like some professional help would be helpful in terms of taking care of yourself first and putting your own oxygen mask on first, then you might like to try this special offer of 10% off online counseling with BetterHelp. Full disclosure, BetterHelp provided me with both a free trial and a sponsored link so that I could test out their platform for myself and tell you honestly what I thought about the experience. If you decide to try it too, you can use the sponsored link in the description below to get 10% off your first month and support this channel in the process. And if you're a little bit curious around online counseling but still not really sure if it's the right fit for you, you might like to check out my video on the pros and cons of online counseling to help you make that decision. So finally, this has been a Patron's Choice video, so thanks so much to everyone who voted for this topic this month. If you'd like to have your say in next month's video, you can become a cup of coffee supporter of this channel for less than $1 a week. So thanks again for watching. I hope you found my tips valuable. Best of luck in your neurodivergent relationships, and I'll see you again next week. Bye.